analysis. I want to start here. Yesterday, in the year 1536, give me a second to think about that. Like, I don't really have like a place in my brain for the year 1536. Right? I can go back to like 1770. It's like as far back as I can like visualize. 1536, William Tyndale. He was strangled and burned at the stake. Here's there's a photograph from that moment. 484 years ago, tied up, strangled at the stake, then burned. This is the man who knew Greek, and he translated the Bible into English for the very first time. The King James Bible was in 1611, so this is 100 years before the King James Bible. Very few people could read Greek or Hebrew, and then he was in England, and the Pope he's the head of the church in Italy, and he didn't like that. Tyndale didn't. So he translated the Bible and then smuggled it out to a bunch of people. His famous words were, if God spare my life, I will cause a boy that drives the plow to know more of the scripture than you. Speaking to the Pope. I'll cause a boy that drives a plow to know more of the scripture than you do. And he paid for it with his life. His last words were, Lord, open the King of England's eyes. So I share that story. It happened yesterday, 484 years ago. But I share it because this clip from MSNBC, I can't get over it. I cannot get over this clip here. So this is Trump arriving at the White House, and then he took his mask off. Okay, I want to be clear. There's no other context to this there's no other context that could even make this clip like reasonable in any way. But there's no other context. He didn't do anything else. He got there, took his mask off. Here's what the MSNBC host said.
I want to echo, I think what can only be described as the shock. I think that we all feel there are moments in this job when you realize that you're witnessing some of the great horrors of history.
The great taking off. Like she's acting like Trump got off the helicopter and just opened fire and just started killing political prisoners. Just like right in front of the camera. Like the great horrors in history. We can pick an infinite number of horrors in history. I mean, that's why I just picked the Tyndale one, because that's a horror that happened, yesterday in world history. Right? So to say that Trump is taking off his mask is one of the great horrors in history, I'm going to put it very, very nicely, is lacking perspective. And when you lack perspective, and when you're a narcissist, then you live a life in perpetual fear. If you lack perspective, you live a life in fear, and fear robs you of joy. And I think that's the state of our country today. Let me quote John MacArthur on this. He said, fear is a liar. Fear lies to you. Fear tells you your future's not under control. That's a lie. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. You've got enough trouble today. Deal with that. God will be there in the future. Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Don't cripple the present by worrying about the future. You destroy your joy and you lose the present. My argument is that we live in such a godless culture. People are walking around in a constant state of internal unrest, and then that leads to external unrest on an individual level, right? So if you have internal unrest constantly all the time because you're worried about the future, so you have internal unrest, then you're going to make bad decisions, and you're going to have a bad attitude, and things are not going to go well in your life. So externally, you'll have unrest. And then when we live in a country with millions of people with internal and external unrest, then we become a country in a constant state of unrest. And just log on to Twitter to see that in action. Yesterday, we showed the tweet from Michael Beschloss. He's a presidential historian, author of 10 books, PBS NewsHour documentarian. And he talked about, news contributor. And he talked about how, we never have presidents get up on balconies. That's for authoritarian strongmen. And then people are just posting pictures of every single president ever on the balcony of the White House, right? That's a presidential historian who lacks perspective. Does it make sense? So people lack an eternal perspective. And when you don't believe in God or heaven or hell, then this world is all you have. And that's a very different worldview than a Christian's going to have. right? You're going to have very different, you have a different worldview, which we talked about yesterday, and you're going to have very different thoughts, and you're going to have very different actions about whether you believe there's an eternity or you don't. I mean, that's like one of the most fundamental, drastic worldview differences you could possibly have. So that's eternal. But then even in the moment, right? So 2 Corinthians 4:17 says, for this light momentary affliction. That's Paul. All right, Paul knew affliction. And he called it this light momentary affliction is preparing us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. As we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. How about that for a life-changing perspective? All the difficult things that we experience in our life are but light and momentary afflictions. So to call what Trump did yesterday, where he took his mask off, one of the great horrors of history, that doesn't even compute. I don't even, Trump taking his mask off when he got to the White House, if you're to rank the great horrors, right? You're gonna rank them out. Trump taking off his mask doesn't rank as in the top 1 million great horrors of yesterday. I'm not being serious. Think about yesterday, just around the world, just murder, child abuse, verbal abuse, domestic abuse, someone jaywalking, and Trump takes his mask off. I think it might be the 1 millionth most horrific thing that happened yesterday. And we're supposed to be, I can't. The CBS News reporter said he felt safer when he reported in North Korea than he does in the White House today. It's like, people, come on. And we don't even have to go back in time. We don't have to go back 484 years ago to William Tyndale. Do you know what's going on? Do you know what's going on in Myanmar today? So the Social Dilemma documentary that I talked about the other day, you have to watch it. It's fantastic. But Myanmar, Burma, Facebook is the internet, right? So you live in Myanmar and you get your cell phone and Facebook is already preloaded, and that's how you get to the internet, is through Facebook. And that's by, obviously, Facebook's design. So Dave Madden, he made a presentation to Facebook in May of 2015 about how Facebook was being used the Buddhists in Myanmar were using Facebook to organize and kill, slaughter, and commit genocide against Muslims. And this was in 2015. And Facebook, we're horrified, and we're going to take this very seriously. And then Dave Madden went back in 2017 and said, I don't know what you guys have been trying to do, because whatever it is not working because it's getting worse. Now, I want to emphasize again, these are Buddhists, okay? These are Buddhists. So it's all the critical race theorists talking about white supremacists, blah, 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 blah. These are Buddhists gathering together to kill Muslims, and it's happening right now. Today. It's been going on for 5+ years. Today. I've never heard of it. Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever heard of Myanmar? Have you ever heard of the Myanmar Muslim genocide happening today? I haven't even heard of that. They think it's over 35,000 deaths. Almost 1 million Muslim refugees have had to flee. Myanmar, it's like next to Thailand and Laos and Vietnam and India, kind of like that neck of the wood. Almost 1 million Muslim refugees have had to flee. Entire Muslim villages destroyed, burned to the ground. That's like medieval stuff. Pillaged, girls raped. It's believed 18,000 girls have been raped. The preferred method of killing people is throwing them into fires. This is right now. I don't know what time it is in Myanmar today, right at this moment, but this is happening right now. And MSNBC calls Trump taking off his mask one of the great horrors of history. Do you see how insane this is? And do you see how the media is a fascist dictator? I will never get over people complaining that Trump is a fascist. And it's like, guys, you can't scream and yell that the leader of your country is a fascist if he's a fascist. He'll kill you. You're dead. That's it. You can't yell it twice. And the media is just pushing this all day long, and people are falling for it because people lack perspective. If people had proper perspective, And someone said, and I mean that eternally, right? Proper biblical perspective, proper spiritual perspective, proper historical perspective, proper emotional perspective. Then the media would come in here and say, oh, he's a fascist dictator. This is one of the great horrors of history. And everyone would be able to bring up, oh, like, what about this? Or what about that? Or what about, that's not a great horror. Like, if they have perspective about COVID, they'd be like, oh, well, I mean, it's not that bad. I mean, 95% of 70-year-olds who get it survive. I mean, right? People are completely lacking perspective, and then everyone freaks out. Perspective brings calm. If you don't have perspective, you can't compare it to anything. So everything's the worst ever. That's what narcissism does too, right? If you're narcissism, you're living within yourself, and you can't see other people, so everything that you're experiencing is you're the only person who's ever experienced it, and it's the worst thing ever in the history of the world. So if you're a narcissist, you can't have empathy. And if you're a narcissist historically, you have nothing to compare the present moment with. And you don't even have to be like a story in like an epic story. You can just compare Trump taking off his mask with the Black Lives Matter rallies of tens of thousands of people. And so that's hypocritical. But then you compare Trump taking off his mask with the mass genocide that's taking place right now in Myanmar. And that just gives you a little perspective. And I hope the perspective brings peace. And that's the goal right now. That's what I need more than anything, is I need some peace from the absolute hysteria. I'm not going to let them manipulate me anymore. The chief investment officer at UBS Global Wealth Management, just last week, said that gold may hit $2,000 by the end of the year. It's at $1,800 right now. The head of real asset strategy at Wells Fargo said you got to buy gold. They're predicting $2,300 per ounce. And then Bank of America just said that gold may hit $3,000 by the end of the year. So whether it's $2,000, $2,300, $3,000, whatever, the consensus is it's going up. And yesterday, the federal government talking about a $2.4 trillion stimulus package. What do you think this is going to end well for the dollar? I think the dollar is going to hold up throughout all this? Not a chance. Trump sent one tweet yesterday, and the stock market tanked. We need something more real than this. Get gold, own gold, have it in your hand. And then, so there's that, more long-term, but then also, geez, if things hit the fan, it's good to have gold in your possession. Patriot Gold Group, they are America's highest rated precious investment firm, rated by Consumer Affairs, Retirement Living, A+ Better Business Bureau, AAA Business Consumer Alliance, 5 stars from Consumer Affairs, 4 years running. They're absolute first class, best of the best. There's no one better. Let's do this now. 28 days till the election, something like that, right? This is, do it now. Own gold. Give them a call. You get a free investor's guide. Any question you have, a human being is going to pick up the phone. 1-800-798-4260. Tell them you listen to True Story Mike Slater, and they're going to treat you right. I promise you. 1-800-798, number right there at the bottom of the screen, 1-800-798-4260. It's Patriot Gold Group.
Pence, Harris, the vice presidential debate. Special coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First.
Modern society and the way it treats kids is a little weird. But if you'd like to have a laugh, look no further than this recent Slate article. We're raising our daughter gender neutral, but she only wants pink dresses. Where did we mess up? Where did we mess up? Well, I'm guessing that the answer to that question requires a lot of deeper self-reflection, my friends. The mother writing this piece is actually asking for advice. She and her husband can't seem to agree on how to deal with their daughter, who is obsessed with pink things. Our daughter adores the color pink, insists on wearing dresses, and is currently obsessed with accessories. I am fine with this, though I hope it will be a phase. Listen, guys, look, just hear me out for a second. Parenting licenses. The mother goes on to say that her husband is unhappy that she's encouraging her child's obsession, and both parents are worried that if they try to stop their daughter's interest in the things she likes, she'll only become more obsessed. Good God, who let these people breed? What's so corrosive about this gender-neutral child thing is that it completely discredits and dismisses a child's natural interests. And while I don't think that little girl should always be in pink or little boy should always be in blue, if a child shows a natural inclination towards those things that are stereotypically associated with their sex, why is that a phase or something nefarious that child should outgrow? What's more interesting still is that had this child been a boy who was expressing interest in dresses and pink and girly things, his parents wouldn't view it as a phase at all, but rather an indication that their child is either gay or transgender. So really, what is even the point of raising your child gender neutral at all if parents will view a stereotypical interest as wrong and an atypical interest as right? As with most things that concern the woke community, it makes no sense. Parents like this seem considerably more interested in appearing woke and enlightened, rather than doing the right thing by their children, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe they shouldn't have kids at all. I was one of those children who grew up not wanting or liking girly things. In fact, if anything, I wanted to steal all my brother's clothes and all of his toys, which is precisely what I did. But my parents never viewed that as good or bad. I just happened to like what I liked, and they were fine with that. Thank you, Mum and Dad. The fact is, the way that we are forcing gender and gender ideology onto children these days is not helping anyone. And asking if you are messing up because your child naturally likes something and shows a natural inclination towards things is beyond unhelpful. And getting mad that they like something that is traditionally associated with their sex is even more bizarre. Try this one on for size. Let these kids be kids. And stop trying to shove a natural interest down their throat just so that you can appear woke. Parents have an enormous responsibility to do the right thing by their children. And forcing gender theory onto children, especially before they can walk or talk or do anything useful, is incredibly corrosive to that child. And any parent who is angry or upset because their child is showing interest in things traditionally associated with their child's sex should honestly be ashamed.
Replenish your inbox with an email that holds your values. Get the Up First email from The First, the daily newsletter that brings you the important stories from a Freedom First agenda. It's essential reading for those who are tired of the liberal media's talking points and progressive agenda-driven network news. Reclaim your inbox now with the Up First newsletter. Go to thefirsttv.com and sign up today.
Hey, Snyder Crusaders. Yesterday on Jesse's show, he said, "We are so fat, rich, and bored, we panic over anything now." And then he put on his Twitter, he said, "America is the millionaire with a flat tire on his Rolls Royce, cursing the sky and screaming, 'Why me, God, why me?'" And that guy's in for a rude awakening when problems, actual problems, finally come his way. And that's where we are in America today. So listen, this hypocrisy is way too much to handle, but it's more than that now. Once it gets into the gaslighting, that's when it's when it's totally out of control. So real quick on the hypocrisy, we have a billion examples of this, right? But we went all summer with the left telling us that we need to lock down and all this stuff, right? So then we do. And then we have these Black Lives Matter rallies all over the place and they're no problem whatsoever. Like, I'll never forget the picture of nurses outside of the hospital, just after this whole, you're killing, don't go anywhere, you're killing the nurses. And then, the next day, there's Black Lives Matter rallies going right by the hospital with the nurses outside applauding. You're like, what's going on here? And now CNN won't even play the video of the president taking off his mask at the White House because the guy was like, "Oh, take it off. That will kill people." A video of the president taking off his mask will kill people? There's a video going around. Actually, play it here.
It's my
a funeral.
Privilege to have been asked to conduct our service today to celebrate the life of Alan Wright. I therefore offer you all a very warm welcome as we unite in love and friendship to...
You have to put the chair back, I'm afraid. You can't move the chair to a side.
that woman in the middle is a grieving widow at the funeral of her husband. Her adult son wants to move his chair closer to console his weeping mother. And the funeral home director comes in and tells him to get back. Get just 6 feet. George Floyd gets to have a funeral packed with, do we have the picture of it? I'm bad at guessing numbers, but it's over 1,000 people in it, packed inside. I mean, we get the hypocrisy. Like, your business shuts down, Nancy Pelosi can go get her hair did without a mask. And somehow that's your fault. She's the victim, you're the, right? But that's all hypocrisy. Whatever, that's fine. Or whatever. It's when it gets into gaslighting that I think is a really sick thing. This is Michelle Obama yesterday.
They're stoking fears about Black and brown Americans, lying about how minorities will destroy the suburbs, whipping up violence and intimidation, and they're pinning it all on what's been an overwhelmingly peaceful movement for racial solidarity. It's true. Research backs it up. Only a tiny fraction of demonstrations have had any violence at all. So what the president is doing is, once again, patently false. It's morally wrong. And yes, it is racist.
Okay, so first of all, what kind of sentence is research backs it up? Right? You can't just make a claim, make a ridiculous claim that we're going to get to in a second, and then be like, oh yeah, well, what's your evidence? Oh, well, research backs it up. Okay, like what do you have? Like, what are you talking? Like, oh, well, research. Like, who's the person that's like, oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know research backed it up. Thank you. Like, what is that? Well, how about this claim? Conservatives are whipping up violence. Conservatives are whipping up an overall peaceful movement. A tiny fraction have had any violence at all. I see people are taking that video of her and then putting in the background just cities on fire. A tiny fraction have had any violence at all. Like, what kind of country are we living in where you like, so this is postmodernism. This is really important to understand because the point of it is that, like, you don't even know what's true anymore. The point of postmodernism, we spent a lot of time on 2 + 2 = 5. And the Mathematical Association of America, I think it is, MAA, Mathematical Association of America, they came out, we got to do a segment on this if we have time, and they said that math is a human construct and humans come in with their own racist biases against people of color. It's like, oh, geez. So 2 + 2 = 5. With the postmodernists, when they say that, they're not saying 2 + 2 does equal 5, because that would be a truth claim and they're against all truth. They're saying 2 + 2 could equal 5. Who's really to say? Could equal 6, could equal 5, could equal 8. What is math anyway? Oh, you use a base 10 number system? Well, if you use a base 6 number system, then it really, right? It's just to muddy the water. That's all they're doing. Does that make sense? They're not saying 2 + 2 = 5. They're saying, well, who's really to know? And the point of that is to muddy the waters and confuse you so much about what is true and what isn't true, to the point where nothing makes sense anymore. I mean, I keep bringing this up, but that's the Michael Beschloss presidential historian tweet the other day. Like, oh, in America, we don't have presidents who get up on balconies. That's for authoritarian countries. And people are just like posting a ton of pictures of every president standing on the balcony of the White House, right? It's to get you to not like, well, wait, but like, you said it doesn't, and here's what are we even, look at this picture from our governor in California. Okay, so that's the picture. The tweet, though, the text of the tweet says, going out to eat with members of your household this weekend? Don't forget to keep your mask on in between bites. In between bites? What are you... What? You're supposed to chew with your mask on now? This is insane. Yesterday, we talked about how we are a lonely people and how that leads to extremism. We're numb, we are weak, we're delusional, we're gullible. Actually, let's go through the stories we just did. So Jesse said we're fat, rich, and bored. All right, fat, rich, bored, we panic over anything. Okay, so we are, on that point, we're ungrateful. We're ungrateful and we lack perspective. Okay? We panic over a video of Trump taking off his mask. We're cowards. We let a funeral director tell us that we can't console our grieving mom. Are you kidding me? Imagine you in that position. What would you do to that funeral director? Be like, get out of here. Just get. We're weak. Michelle Obama tells the world it's conservatives who are whipping this up. We're gullible. The presidential historian doesn't bother to check to see if any other president has ever been on the White House balcony. We're delusional. And now California says you got to wear your mask between bites when you're eating out with family members. We're pathetic. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm a little down on us right now, but are you okay with all this? You okay with this? And then Trump comes out and says, hey, guys, everyone, enough of this. Like, let's be strong. Let's make good decisions. Let's be prudent. But we got to get back to work, and we got to get back to school, and we got to go be with our friends for our mental and spiritual health, and we got to get back on with life. And he's the bad guy? That's amazing. What an upside down world. I know you're thinking, Slater, hold on. Didn't you do this whole thing on Monday about how you're gonna be more hopeful and optimistic and help us find peace? And here you just called us a bunch of cowards. Here's why I want to share all that. You can't find peace in this world. Like, when I realize how much of just how we are just ungrateful and cowardly and weak and gullible and all these things, like, it's like a rock bottom to me. It makes me realize, like, I can't find it in any of these things. You can't. Can't find peace in this world. You better find a rock. The rain fell, the floods came, the wind blew, beat on the house, and it did not fall because it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it. We are a country. What we're seeing right now is decades of our culture building its foundation on sand. And here's the fruit of it. That's the result of it. The good news is, and the peace can come with the fact that you can build your house on the rock. True story. Mike Slater, we'll do some VP debate prep coming up next. Spread the word.
Bill O'Reilly joins Jesse Kelly live immediately following the debate. Stay right here on The First for complete post-debate analysis.
Hey guys, Buck Sexton here. If you love watching my show on The First TV, then make sure you stay connected with us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Parler. You can even watch us on YouTube. Stay connected and stay informed with First TV anywhere and everywhere. We'll see you there.
Looking for an email you actually want to read? We've got you covered. Sign up for the Up First newsletter only from The First. Every morning we deliver the day's essential headlines and prepare you for what everyone will be talking about. Plus, you'll also get instant analysis and real facts, helping you cut through the liberal mainstream media spin. Don't wait. Sign up for the Up First newsletter right now at thefirsttv.com.
A wise man once said you should do something great every single day before you go to sleep at night, and I have great news for you. Now you can. What can you do? Well, you can watch me. Every single night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First. My show, I'm Right, blows you away with incredible wisdom, hilarity, and of course, stunning good looks. You can catch my show, I'm Right, every single night. 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on the First. Watch Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now more than ever, you need real facts without the spin. Tune out the 24-hour news cycle and watch Bill O'Reilly on the First TV. It's a new kind of network with fresh ideas and bold opinions. Start watching the No Spin News and so much more at thefirsttv.com. No cost, no spin, no agenda. Don't miss Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News. Visit thefirsttv.com right now. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download it and get instant access to Bill O'Reilly, Dana Lash, Jesse Kelly, Buck Sexton, and Mike Slater on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The best part, it's absolutely free. Watch your favorite programs live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Don't wait. Download the First TV app right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, iOS, and Apple TV. Just search the First TV in your favorite app store and start watching today. Stay informed. Stay connected. Download the First TV app right now. It's free.
Hey, Slater Crusaders, to prepare for tonight's VP debate, which again, we're going to have debate coverage starting at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight, and then we'll air the debate at 9 o'clock. And then afterwards, we got Jesse Kelly hosting, and Bill O'Reilly is going to join for some post-debate analysis. For some pre-debate analysis, I want to go to one of our favorite guests, David Petruzza, historian, many different books. The most relevant here would be 1960, LBJ versus JFK versus Nixon, the epic campaign that forged 3 presidencies. Mr. Petruzza, how are you, sir?
Good to be back.
Good to talk to you again. So let's start big picture here. So I despise the debates. I'm not going to go off on a whole rant about it, but they have nothing to do with being president. They have nothing to do with any skill sets that have anything to do with anything in life at all. And I hate every single part of them. So that being said, what do you think of them? And why do we do it this way?
They're mislabeled. It's a fake debate. They're not really debates. If you've ever participated in a real debate or judged one, you realize that this moderator stuff really means that we're having 2 joint press conferences. And in a real debate, there would no interruptions. People would make a case. It would be on one topic, right? Okay. And then you would go back and forth and rejoinder and bang, 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 and summation. So what we have are not really debates. We did have early on in the history of presidential debates. First off, the first one I can find is a real outlier. In 1936, Senator Arthur Vandenberg of Michigan debates a phonograph record of Franklin Roosevelt on CBS Radio. CBS Radio is aghast at what happens and pulls him off the air. Then in 1948, there is a real debate. It's in Portland, Oregon, the font of all good things. And it's between Harold Stassen and Thomas E. Dewey. And they are debating whether the Communist Party of the United States should be outlawed. And Dewey says, no, we shouldn't. And he wins that debate. And one of the things he says is, look, we have a lot of communists in New York State, and I know how to deal with them, and you deal with them out in the open. And that's really the first debate until 1960. And the first debate in 1960 is not JFK versus Nixon. It's JFK versus Hubert Humphrey in the West Virginia primary. Kennedy wins that, of course, because he's Jack Kennedy. And then there's another debate, which is JFK versus LBJ at the Democratic National Convention. And it's almost completely impromptu. And Kennedy wins that, really skewers LBJ at that. And then we get into the format that we know today, which is Kennedy versus Nixon. They had 4 debates back then. And in 1960, as in 2020, we've got a candidate who's taken sick. Nixon is campaigning in every state in the union. He's made a promise he's going to campaign in all 50 states. And he bangs his knee on a car door in Greensboro, North Carolina, takes sick, and is in the hospital for 2 weeks. Rushes out to catch up on his 2 weeks, a hole in his schedule, right? And he's sick, he's lost 10 pounds, and he looks like hell, and his clothes are hanging on him. You see a little bit of this in Biden now, where his clothes look too loose on him. He's lost weight too. And then so Nixon rushes into Chicago, doesn't rest up. Kennedy rests up. One of the ironies in that campaign is Nixon was always healthy, and he's sick in that campaign, and JFK is always sick until that year. But Kennedy makes the smart move. He preps for the debate. He takes it seriously. He's in a hotel room in Chicago a couple days before, taking it easy, and he looks great. And Nixon does not. And now we talk about the venues for debates and where people are shields and this and that. And so one of the arguments, and everyone's got handlers now. Well, they had handlers then. Nixon, if you're old enough to remember, really sweat. And he sweat like crazy in those debates. He was very sensitive to heat. So they would have the battle of the thermostats. And the Kennedy people were turning up the heat, literally, on Nixon every debate. And Nixon people would go back and grab the thermostat and crank it down. But also in the third debate, what you get is the split venue. There was a scheduling problem for some reason, and they're not in the same room. They're not in the same time zone. Kennedy is in New York, and Nixon is in Los Angeles. So we've been there before on this, where we might have to do the same thing again if we do have another debate between Biden and Trump, that they don't have to be in the same room.
Yeah, how did that go in 1960?
And you don't need studio audiences either.
Yeah, there's so many dynamics here. Technologically, did that go smoothly back in 1960?
Smoothly, but it wasn't, it loses something. It loses something in the aura of the whole thing, but it worked. It worked.
So here's my question to go back to history even prior to this. Is the fact that what these things have become is just a regurgitation of 1-minute talking points, what is that a reflection of? Is that a reflection of the American people? Is that a reflection of the quality of the intellect of the candidates? Is that a reflection of the big media that we got to fit now 1,000 topics into a short period of time to get our commercial breaks in? What is the result? What has caused this downfall in quality?
I think the quality of the civilization has caused the downfall. Things are bad all over. But politics has always been artifice and the creation of images. Take a look at that debate between W and Gore, where Gore really gets in W's face and goes over, and he's really smarmy and obnoxious, and it blows up. It does not work for him, but they had discussed doing it. And his handler said, no, don't do it. It's not going to work. Wow. But he does it anyway. And so many of these things are prepared, and you're waiting, for the sound bite. You want that to work. Yeah. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But, the Lincoln Douglas debates, which were not presidential, which were the Senate in Illinois, and which is kind of odd because they didn't have a popular vote for the Senate in Illinois in the 1850s. Those things go on for hours and hours and hours, and there's a ton of them. So things were more long form then. You go back to the old time newspapers, and they would print the entire text of presidential speeches and of the big major speeches, so people could, look at them unfiltered. They'd get their opinion from the columnists then, but right now everything is the media attacking the media about who said what and blah, 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 blah. It goes on. So the substance really gets lost as to in the minutia and the woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff.
Yeah, we're always looking for that prepared, a moment soundbite attack. And as you said, I think that's awful. But we did a story the other day, Reagan's line about I will not make age a part of this campaign. That was rehearsrsed. And what was the other one? Oh, you're no Jack Kennedy. That was rehearsed. Yeah. So all these big debate moments, none of them were impromptu. And so here's my question, David. Do I romanticize the past too much? I have this I'm putting like these guys who were running for office 100 years ago plus on this pedestal of like they were great orators and they were great debaters and they could actually listen to the person who was talking and form a new argument on the fly based on the moment. Or were they always just sort of the same and not really that smart of people?
It varies. I mean, you had some real political hacks back then, even and crooks. Yeah. One of the reasons why they went to direct election of U.S. senators is because a lot of bribery was involved in these things. So, in 1920, when I wrote my book on the 1920 election, I dedicated it to the folly of man and the mercy of God, because people were not exactly perfect then either.
Yeah, I like that. What is one thing you would change format-wise of these debates that you think would make the biggest difference?
I think get the moderators out of the way and get the press conference out of the way and just sort of let them talk for 10 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever and have a real debate, have some real substance, see if they can string a whole bunch of sentences and ideas together, okay? because we're electing them for 4 years, you know? And that's
not a high bar. I love how your bar is, let's see if they can put some sentences together, right? You're not asking for like Cicero to get up there or Demosthenes to give a 3-hour presentation. What would you say, and I love you're always a wealth of this history stuff, obviously. And you brought up the Nixon as a really fascinating parallel, but is there any other parallel in history to what's going on right now? And I'll tell you this, David, one thing we've been trying to focus more on the show is to try to get better at perspective, because I think perspective gives us peace, because there's nothing new under the sun. We've been here before, et cetera, et cetera. That being said, any other moment in our history that this reminds you of? What if David comes back and says, no, this is totally unique and things have never been worse?
And really to the Civil War. I mean, not to be too dramatic,
what I was looking
we've
for,
never
David.
been so divided. You have to go way, way back where people just cannot stand each other anymore and are not willing to cut anyone any slack or half the time even to work within the system. It's frightening, I'll tell you.
So is that really different than the 60s? Because I would argue that the 60s would be another time that was
because you had a system of stability back then within the two parties, and they were used to power going back and forth, and the challenge to the system then was in the streets, and there were still people willing to say, okay, we're the adults in the room. You have to have some rules. You have to have some basis based on our civilization and our government, which has gone before, our constitutional system. And here you've got the mayors and the governors really abdicating responsibility one after another, or conversely, assuming too much responsibility. We've got two dynamics going on at once. You know, in Portland and Chicago and Washington, D.C. with the riots, it's like, we're not going to do anything. All of a sudden, these mayors and governors are super libertarians. We're not going to enforce any laws. And then on the other hand, you've got governors like Cuomo and Michigan saying, we've got executive orders. We don't need no stinking laws. We don't need no stinking legislatures. We can just say whatever we want, and you will do what we say. So you've got two contradictory dynamics going at the same time.
Not the piece I was looking for, David. Thanks a lot. But no, we got to run. We got to run, David. Can we talk maybe again next week? I'd love to get your insight on the media and how the media's evolved, changed, devolved over time.
Okay.
When it comes to all this stuff. But we'll have to do that another day. So among other books, the most relevant here, 1960, LBJ, JFK, Nixon, the epic campaign that forged 3 presidencies by the great David Petrusha. David, appreciate your time as always, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Again, debate coverage tonight starts at 7, 9 o'clock Eastern. We're going to air it, of course, right here. And then we'll have post-debate analysis, Jesse Kelly with Bill O'Reilly. True story. Mike Slater, spread the word.
Pence, Harris. the vice presidential debate. Special coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on The First.
Hey everyone, it's Madison Jessiato coming to you once again with the good news. Prayers continuing to go out across the nation and across the world for everybody who's been affected by COVID-19, including, of course, our great president and First Lady of the United States. But as you know, we continue to go through this. We're all in this together, and through the ups and downs, there are always reasons to smile, and that's why I'm back once again to share some of my favorite stories of the week with you. Starting with the September jobs report. The September jobs report has been released and is definitely better than expected in a lot of ways. 661,000 jobs added in September, with that unemployment rate dropping lower than many expected. It was at 8.4% in August. People thought maybe it would go down to 8.2%, but we're seeing it drop under 8% at 7.9% as we continue to recover as an economy from the coronavirus pandemic and the impact that this has had on our nationwide economy. So we'll keep track on that as we head into the rest of the year and obviously in Q4. And one other reason to smile, you know, so often I'm sharing different dog videos and pictures and good news with you guys. Well, you know what? It may actually be helping our health. A study conducted by the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom has shown that watching images and videos of cute animals for 30 minutes actually can affect your blood pressure, your heart rate, your anxiety for the good. So we're going to keep sharing some of those with you guys in the good news. And of course, you know, we've all played the lottery. I haven't won yet, but I've been hoping to for a long time. But this Wake County man in North Carolina told his wife, I am going to win the Cash 5. Of course, she didn't really think he was going to win, but guess what? He is now the winner of the Cash 5. And his wife said, you know, he always said he was going to win this. And he did. Numbers all exactly what he picked. $139,000, taking home $98,000 plus after taxes. So congratulations to this family on their big winnings. And as always, if you're hearing great stories of good news in your communities that you haven't heard featured on the mainstream media, be sure to share them with us so we can share them with our viewers. And we'll be back soon with more good news.
Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download the First TV app right now on Apple, Google Play, Roku, or Amazon Fire and start watching today.
Hey, Senator Crusaders, I want to talk to the author of a new book called The Biden Deception, Moderate, Opportunist, or the Democrats' Crypto Socialist. And specifically, I want to talk about his new editorial in The American Spectator, where he's a senior editor. Secularism lives loudly within Biden. George Neumeyer. Mr. Neumeyer, how are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about this secularism lives loudly within Biden. Obviously, that's a play on what was it? The dogma lives loudly within you from Feinstein against Amy Barrett in the last court confirmation process. What do you mean by secularism? How do you define that in this context?
Well, you know, according to Biden, the government has the right to suppress religious freedom when it conflicts with the goals of liberalism. And so, you know, he's written on his campaign website that the religious freedom should be viewed in a limited way. It shouldn't be, you know, it can't be a pretext for doing something that liberalism regards as discriminatory. And so that's basically Biden's way of saying if religion conflicts with the goals of liberalism, i.e. abortion rights and LGBT rights, he is going to suppress religious freedom. And we saw that under Barack Obama with the contraceptive mandate contained within Obamacare. Which resulted in that lawsuit involving the Little Sisters of the Poor and other religious groups. And Biden has said that he is going to resume that harassment of the Little Sisters of the Poor. And that's just one of many examples of how he's going to undermine religious freedom as president.
It's amazing how, when that all happened, it was literally, like, almost comically, the Little Sisters of the Poor that they were going at. Like, you could not come up with a more, like, it was like a better name than that, being the people that they're, in your words, harassing. I think the Little Sisters of the Poor, geez, Biden. So what does that say about the Democratic Party, that liberalism or progressivism or their political ideology is of higher importance and higher priority than Christianity.
Well, I mean, it shows that they have a very ahistorical view of the Constitution. They don't interpret the First Amendment as the Founding Fathers did. You know, they're willing to turn the First Amendment on its head, basically. It was established to protect the religious, not to remove the religious from public life. And yet that's how Joe Biden views it.
Such an important line. It was designed to protect the religious. Give me a little more on that. That's so important because I want to make sure people have that proper worldview and perspective as they move forward here. Can you go more into that?
Yeah, well, the First Amendment basically said that the federal government can't establish its own religion, and that means that it can't establish a religion of secularism either, which would swoop down and suppress religious activity within the states. It was actually, the states, the 13 states, wouldn't agree to the Constitution until the federal government made it clear that they weren't going to come in and prevent religious activity within the states. So that was the original understanding of the First Amendment. It was a protection for the religious, not a justification for removing religion from public life completely and making the government purely secular.
Yeah, every colony had their own official religion at the time, and I encourage everyone to go back and read the letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury, Connecticut Baptists, I believe it was, which is where the line separation of church and state really comes from, which is everything you're just talking about here. It's to protect the Baptists from practicing their religion, not to prevent the Baptists from practicing their religion.
Right.
George, let's go big picture here about Biden. I was reading an article in Politico the other day, and it talked about Biden, the old school, consensus building, moderate guy. Was that true? Is that still true today?
It's certainly not true anymore. I would say that, Biden has always been an opportunist. He follows the party wherever it goes. And so in the 1990s, when the party under Bill Clinton was trying to triangulate the Republicans, he was more moderate. He was following the party line at that time. And it was out of that attempt to triangulate the Republicans that crime bill, which Biden sponsored, came to be. And but then as the party, more recently moved to the hard left, he joined them on the hard left. He followed them to the hard left. And now it's impossible for him to present himself as a moderate. He is clearly a tool of the far left. He selected as his running mate, which we'll see tonight at the VP debate, the most liberal member of the Senate, Kamala Harris. And, if he had wanted to move to the center in the general election, he certainly wouldn't have selected her.
Yeah, what's one thing we need to know about Joe Biden today? Right, because again, we can reflect on Joe Biden from the 70s, but what's the Joe Biden of today that you think is most important to know?
Well, I think it's, his commitment to what Obama called the fundamental transformation of the country. Biden has said that he wants to complete Obama's fundamental transformation of the country. And I think that that's, basically a pledge to pursue a course that is unconstitutional and that seeks to establish a new political order based upon left-wing radicalism. And I think that's, the most concerning thing about Biden is that he's committed to that project, that left-wing project to undo the foundations of the country and replace them with the politics of the Democratic Party.
And we'll see that again, as you said tonight, with Kamala. The Biden deception, moderate opportunist, or the Democrats' crypto socialist. What's a crypto socialist?
It's a hidden socialist. It's somebody who doesn't advertise their socialism explicitly, but nevertheless subscribes to it. And I would say that that's obvious most evidently in Biden's philosophy of taxation, which is basically that he sees it as an instrument of social justice, when in reality, taxation is merely the government's right to take money from the people who form the government in order to finance the legitimate activities of the government. That's the real purpose of taxation, is to fund the legitimate functions of the federal government. It's not to, quote unquote, redistribute wealth. And yet that is the purpose of taxation, which Biden has signed on to. And in that way, he's exactly like Bernie Sanders. They're both socialist redistributionists at heart.
What's one example of his social justice redistribution for Biden?
Well, he said that, we have plenty of money to spread around, as if that's the purpose of government, or that's the purpose of taxation, is to spread money around. It's like what Obama said to Joe the plumber. We've got plenty of wealth to spread around. Well, that is not the founding fathers' understanding of government's rationale for taxing people. The government has no right to take any money from people more than what is required to fund the government.
What a great reference to Joe the plumber. I haven't thought we talked about Ken Bone the other day, and now we bring in Joe the plumber. Yeah. George Neumeyer from the American Spectator and the book, again, The Biden Deception. George, great to talk to you. Thank you, sir.
Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Have a good day. Yeah, true story. Mike Slater. We'll be back tomorrow. We have, again, debate coverage starts tonight, 7 o'clock, right here on the First. We're going to air the debate, of course, at 9 o'clock, and then we'll have post-debate analysis. Stick around here for the great Jesse Kelly, who's going to be joined by the even greater Bill O'Reilly. It's all coming up tonight right here in the First, and we'll be back, of course, with the highlights on tomorrow's show. True story. Spread the word.
Bill O'Reilly joins Jesse Kelly live immediately following the debate. Stay right here on the First for complete post-debate analysis. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download it and get instant access to Bill O'Reilly, Dana Lash, Jesse Kelly, Buck Sexton, and Mike Slater on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The best part, it's absolutely free. Watch your favorite programs live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Don't wait. Download the First TV app right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, iOS, and Apple TV. Just search the First TV in your favorite app store and start watching today. Stay informed. Stay connected. Download the First TV app right now. It's free.
Hey, it's Dana Lash, host of The Dana Show, 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern, which is also broadcast live right here on the First TV. Every day I'm here to keep you up to speed on the most important stories and information you need to know in your very, very busy life. And if you're always on the go and you just want to stay connected, download our daily podcast. Take it with you. It's a great way to get up to speed on what you need to know and stay informed on what legacy media may not tell you. Just visit danalash.com and click on that podcast link or subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Bill O'Reilly is back on TV and only on the First. Watch Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now more than ever, you need real facts without the spin. Tune out the 24-hour news cycle and watch Bill O'Reilly on the First TV. It's a new kind of network with fresh ideas and bold opinions. Start watching the No Spin News and so much more at thefirsttv.com. No cost, no spin, no agenda. Don't miss Bill O'Reilly's No Spin News. Visit thefirsttv.com right now.
Hey, Slater Crusaders. On my show, we've been diving deep into the philosophy of what we're fighting against, from Hegel, Marx, the Frankfurt School, all the way to today. And once you know all that stuff, everything we're seeing today makes a lot of sense. But we're also diving deep into the principles that we built this country on, right? And what we're fighting for. Our founding fathers didn't just fight against the British. They also fought for specific principles. And that's the same thing we need to be doing today. Oh, also, there's an election coming up soon, so we got lots to talk about. True story, Mike Slater, please join us every weekday, 11 o'clock Eastern, right here on The First.
There's a new email that prepares you every day to be smart, stay informed, and always be on the alert for liberal media spin. It's called Up First, and it's only on the First TV. Get essential daily headlines, instant reaction and analysis, and the tools you need to fight back against the progressive agenda. Don't wait. Get the same email First TV hosts use to stay informed every morning. Never miss an important story. Go to thefirsttv.com and sign up for the Up First newsletter today. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download the First TV app right now on Apple, Google Play, Roku, or Amazon Fire and start watching today. Stay tuned to The First for live post-debate analysis with Jesse Kelly immediately following the debate.
Debate night again. Yes, we're going to give you a little preview of that. We're going to talk about what happened with this COVID relief bill. And when you know, we have a funny video for you. All that's coming up right now on I'm Right. You know, I don't do things like this is the only time this has ever happened. We've never seen this before. I generally don't like stuff like that because, I mean, history's a long time. Pretty much everything's happened before. But this might actually be the first time in the history of the United States of America where a vice presidential debate really, really, really matters. I mean, look, Mike Pence is the vice president. And this is nothing against the man. But the job itself is, well, what is it? And what is it? It's the least important job that sounds really important in politics until it isn't. Only now, this has changed. Everything has changed this year because of, how can I put this delicately? The health of the Democratic nominee, the physical and mental well-being of Joe Biden. We've all seen it. This is not news. I'm not breaking anything to you. Joe Biden looks awful, sounds awful, and is clearly a man on decline. Decline while he's campaigning, mostly from his house, calling it a day by 9, 10 a.m. That's before, if God forbid he wins, which he could, that's before he wins and strides into the Oval Office to sit down for a job that requires 17, 18 hours a day of work. And it's not all sitting at the Resolute desk signing off paperwork. It's speech after speech after speech after speech, travel after travel after travel, not just, to New Mexico and back, all across the world. It is grueling, and there is nobody who thinks Joe Biden is going to make it 4 years doing it. He's going to have to quit, or God forbid something worse. But he's just not going to make it. He's not able to make it. Well, that's kind of a big deal because then Kamala Harris takes over. You see, you and I have been spoiled in politics in general. I realize VPs have taken over before for, under extreme circumstances. But in general, the VP's just kind of there, right? You know about Mike Pence. You probably like Mike Pence, but you don't really need him for anything. And in general, that would be the case with Kamala Harris. Only now, this woman could be president of the United States of America. And it's not just Republicans who know and acknowledge this. Democrats acknowledge this too. Democrats acknowledge this too. Therefore, everybody's going to watch tonight. Remember, you don't have to change the channel tonight either. You watch this debate right here on the First, and then stay, because I have been told, I can't confirm this yet, but I've been told after the debate, the best TV host in the world is going to be hosting the post-debate show. Honestly, it's just a rumor now. I can't confirm or deny whether or not I'm hosting the post-debate show right after the show, but it is what it is. Either way, back to the task at hand. This one matters. It actually matters. And I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like your history teacher. You need to pay attention tonight. You do. You need to pay attention. This woman might be President of the United States of America. And I don't mean in the future someday. I mean a year? Could easily be a year. That woman could be sitting in the Oval Office. So pay attention tonight. And hope that Mike Pence comes with his game face on. I will be totally frank with you. I'm going to ask Dana Loesch about this later. I don't know what I'm getting with Mike Pence in a debate. I know Mike Pence, look, I've talked to Mike Pence in person several times. I spent time with Mike Pence. He comes off very well in person, comes off very well on camera. He has that perfect hair, good-looking dude, has a good presence, pretty reserved, pretty unassuming. I can see him being a great debater. I could see him being really bad. I will tell you, he's sharper than you think he is, but, and there's a big but in this, does it translate to a nationally televised debate? You see, there are lots of people who are sharp in person, sharp in a room. But when that red light is on and they know America is watching, they don't do as well. Trump does real well there. Well, does Mike Pence? I don't know. But this is one of those times. Remember, now it matters. Now we need him to. Now we need him not to really show who he is. You know who Mike Pence is by now. We need Mike Pence to be maybe a little more aggressive than he normally is to make sure he exposes Kamala Harris. He's got to. He's got to. What are we going to see from Harris? I would guess we're going to see a boatload of stuff like this.
The case against Donald Trump and Mike Pence is open and shut. There's a reason it has hit America worse than any other advanced nation. It's because of Trump's failure to take it seriously from the start. His refusal to get testing up and running, his flip-flopping on social distancing and wearing masks, his delusional belief that he knows better than the experts. All of that is reason, and the reason that an American dies of COVID-19 every 80 seconds.
I love how she did that voice cracking thing. She's such a pro. If I sound like I admire her, I kind of do. Look, you know I cheer for the bad guys sometimes. It's not like I want her to win, but I think I can't do that, but I'm going to work on my voice cracking. No, I'm not. Nobody's going to buy that. Anyway, Mike Pence is going to have to defend himself tonight. He's going to be well ready to do it, but you can bet Kamala Harris is going to be coming at him about coronavirus all night long. Pence, he's going to be boned up. He's Mike Pence.
We have made truly remarkable progress in moving our nation forward. We've all seen the encouraging news as we open up America again. More than 3 million jobs created in the last job report. Retail sales are rolling. And of course, the extraordinary progress in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and New Orleans, areas that just a matter of a month ago were struggling under the weight of this pandemic. In the affected areas, particularly the states down south that are seeing rising cases, we have no outstanding requests. But as I told the governors, we are ready at a moment's notice to surge personnel, to surge supplies, to expand capacity, and to support their healthcare response.
Sounds right, doesn't it? I'm not talking about the individual things he's saying or individual things she's saying, but he sounds like a man who cares, sounds like a man in control of the facts. I try to watch these people the way I view an undecided voter as having watched them. I don't know. We're going to find out. There are going to be a lot of economic barbs thrown tonight. You see, Kamala Harris, there's no getting around this. And we really need Mike Pence to point this out tonight, again, because she might be president soon. Kamala Harris is a pretty hard leftist. Now, don't get me wrong. And this may actually bail us out if she ends up being president one day. She's ambitious. The woman drips with ambition. Now, it's hurt her in her political career as she's tried to rise. Voters can smell that eventually, and it stinks. But she's somebody who will go along in order to rise. But her voting record, it's left. And it's hard left. And she's going to take this economy in a hard left direction. She's going to come at Mike Pence about his. We'll see.
Trump is also the reason millions of Americans are now unemployed. He inherited the longest economic expansion in history from Barack Obama and Joe Biden. And then, like everything else he inherited, he ran it straight into the ground. Because of Trump's failures of leadership, our economy has taken one of the biggest hits out of all the major industrialized nations, with an unemployment rate that has tripled as of today. This is what happens when we elect a guy who just isn't up for the job. Our country ends up in tatters.
Do you think people buy that? I understand you're upset right now. Don't be. Stop. This is my show. Don't get your blood pressure up. Throwing stuff at the TV. I don't think people buy that. I don't know how much the American people are going to put the economic problems on Trump and Pence. I just don't know if they're going to buy that at all. But I guess we'll find out in November. Pence, rightfully so, he's out there saying, who do you think created all those jobs to begin with?
We're opening up America again. I know Wisconsin's opening back up again. I see the enthusiasm as I drove out to the farm today, and on the strong foundation that this president poured in our first 3 years that saw the creation of 7 million jobs, where we cut taxes, rolled back regulations, fought for free and fair trade, unleashed American energy. And the American economy is already coming back. In just the 2 months of May and June, more than 7 million jobs have been added to this economy. We lost 22 million at the height of the pandemic, but the American economy in the city and on the farm is coming back right here in Wisconsin and all over America.
Put down the remote. You don't have to turn up your TV. There was something wrong with the sound. Don't worry about it. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I'm right. Now, Gold Alliance. I've been telling you about Gold Alliance. You saw what the Dow did, right? It dipped and then back. We are approaching an election real soon here. Do you have any idea what that stock market is going to do if this election goes a certain way? I know you do. Protect yourself now. Get a gold IRA from Gold Alliance now, so you don't wake up the day after Election Day, if the worst happens, and look at your portfolio and go, I need another job. Go to goldalliance.com/Jesse. That's goldalliance.com/Jesse. We'll be back.
Looking for an email you actually want to read? We've got you covered. Sign up for the Up First newsletter only from The First. Every morning we deliver the day's essential headlines and prepare you for what everyone will be talking about. Plus, you'll also get instant analysis and real facts, helping you cut through the liberal mainstream media spin. Don't wait. Sign up for the Up First newsletter right now at thefirsttv.com. Bill O'Reilly joins Jesse Kelly live immediately following the debate. Stay right here on The First for complete post-debate analysis.
Hey everyone, it's Madison Jesse Otto coming to you once again with the good news. Now, we've all seen the incredible news that our wonderful President of the United States has been released from Walter Reed Medical Center and has returned to the White House. As a result of this, we have some great economic news coming in as we see the stock market surge to a 2-week high following the president's release. So wonderful news there. And when we talk about great news and we talk about a lot of companies that have done a lot during the coronavirus pandemic, we're not looking to cut our airways. They have decided to give away 21,000 free airline tickets to teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week, and they can apply for this promotion online, and anybody in the 75 countries serviced by Qatar Airlines is eligible. So definitely all of our great teachers out there are going to want to check that out. And one story that really warmed my heart this week comes from a grandpa, Randy Long in Alabama. Now, Randy has a son and a grandson that he spent many years pitching baseballs to at the batting cages, and when he was cleaning out his garage, he found a bucket of baseballs. He knew that his, son and grandson were now grown and wanted to make sure that someone else had the opportunity to experience the joys that spending time with family like he had. So he donated the balls to a local batting cage, and he said, with this special little note, I hope someone can use some of these balls in the batting cages. I found them cleaning out my garage. I pitched them to my son and grandson for countless rounds. My son's now 46. My grandson is 23, I'm 72, and what I wouldn't give to pitch a couple buckets to them again. Throughout this pandemic, we've all seen the importance of family and how important it is to spend that quality time together, because we really never know what the next day brings. No day is promised. And so amazing story, and great to hear that from Randy Long as we continue to see people all across the country coming together and supporting their families and their communities. As always, if there's a good news story in your community you haven't seen or heard featured on the mainstream media, be sure to share it with us so we can share it with all of our viewers. And we'll be back soon with more good news.
Hey guys, Dana Lash here reminding you to download the First TV app right now. With the First TV app, you can watch my show, The Dana Show, live or on demand anywhere, anytime. The First TV app is available on iOS, Android, Amazon, Fire, Roku, and now Apple TV. Just search for the First TV app in your favorite app store and download it today.
Stay tuned to The First for live post-debate analysis with Jesse Kelly immediately following the debate. Don't have the First TV app yet? What are you waiting for? Download it and get instant access to Bill O'Reilly, Dana Lash, Jesse Kelly, Buck Sexton, and Mike Slater on your phone, tablet, or smart TV. The best part, it's absolutely free. Watch your favorite programs live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Don't wait. Download the First TV app right now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, iOS, and Apple TV. Just search the First TV in your favorite app store and start watching today. Stay informed. Stay connected. Download the First TV app right now. It's free. Looking for an email you actually want to read? We've got you covered. Sign up for the Up First newsletter only from The First. Every morning we deliver the day's essential headlines and prepare you for what everyone will be talking about. Plus, you'll also get instant analysis and real facts, helping you cut through the liberal mainstream media spin. Don't wait. Sign up for the Up First newsletter right now at thefirsttv.com.
Uh-oh. I mean, maybe uh-oh. Hopefully uh-oh. I'm not even sure what to say anymore. Trump has authorized the total declassification of all documents pertaining to the Russian hoax and Hillary Clinton. He actually had this to say. He said, quote, "I have fully authorized total declassification of any and all documents pertaining to the single greatest political crime in American history, the Russia hoax. Likewise, the Hillary Clinton email scandal. No redactions," with the exclamation point. I say uh-oh, or maybe uh-oh, because I'm trying to think of a best way to put this. How am I supposed to be hopeful at this point? I mean, the more we have revealed in this whole scummy thing, the worse Barack Obama and James Comey and John Brennan and Hillary Clinton look. The more revealed, the worse they look, and the better Trump looks. And still, who's in jail? Who's been indicted? Where are my indictments? What date do you have? Hang on, man, my watch says October 7th. Hang on, that might not be right. Yeah, that's right. My phone confirmed it. It's October 7th. That seems like we're less than a month away from the election. Why do we not have indictments yet? What is the holdup? So I'm not even going to dwell on this. I'm not going to get excited. I know that once they declassify all this and this stuff comes out, I know it's going to make Barack Obama and Brennan and Comey and Clinton look even worse and look like blatant criminals. But until somebody does something to these people, don't expect me to get excited about it anymore. Stop telling me how mad you are, AG Barr. Show me. Show me. Somebody in handcuffs, not some low-level jerkwater FBI agent either. Somebody powerful, a decision maker in handcuffs, or I don't want to hear you yapping on TV anymore. Sorry. Trump postponed coronavirus relief bill. Quote, Nancy Pelosi is asking for $2.4 trillion to bail out poorly run, high-crime Democrat states, money that is in no way related to COVID-19. We made a very generous offer of $1.6 trillion, and as usual, she is not negotiating in good faith. I am rejecting their request and looking to the future of our country. I have instructed my representatives to stop negotiating until after the election when, immediately after I win, we will pass a major stimulus bill that focuses on hardworking Americans and small business. Well, this is good news. The good news is this. They're going to stop spending money we don't have. I've never been as thrilled in my life as I am to hear that we have gridlock in Washington, D.C. Yes, I know Nancy Pelosi is weapons-grade scum. I understand that. Yes, I understand she wanted $2.6 trillion, or 2.4, whatever it was, to absolutely bail out all these Democrat states who intentionally bankrupted their states about COVID. I know, every bad thing you could say about Nancy Pelosi, I agree. But let me give you a reality of life. And this is going to be a reality, so pay attention. 1,000 years from now, historians are going to sit around and they're going to study the American empire. We'll be gone by then. Nobody lasts that long, besides the Romans. That's another point. But they're going to be studying the American empire, America's rise, America's fall. We're that big, we're going to be studied. We're not one of these second-tier countries, so that's kind of cool. And when they look at the downfall of America, they are going to sit around with each other and laugh at the absolute insanity of just printing trillions and trillions of dollars in unbacked money. And they're going to see how it resulted in the complete destruction of the United States of America. And they're not going to believe it. It's going to be one of those things where you're going to get that revisionist history. You're going to have historians 1,000 years from now saying, oh, I'm sure it wasn't unbacked. I mean, it was backed with something. And people are going to be all, no, I swear. They just printed it. Not backed with anything. They just printed it off and acted like it was real. This money doesn't exist. What America needed was for real leaders to say, we're not shutting down the country for a virus with an over 99% survivability rate. Go back to work. That's what America needed. Instead, we got lockdowns and restrictions and masks and social distancing. And now we're buried in debt. And people are out of work. And their businesses are wiped out. And now we're supposed to beg for government checks? I'm sorry. I'm not begging for a government check. I tell you. Trump went on to say this, quote, if I am sent a standalone bill for stimulus checks, $1,200, they will go out to our great people immediately. I am ready to sign that now. Are you listening, Nancy? No, she's not listening. Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about people. You know that. Nancy Pelosi is going to find a way to get a massive, wasteful stimulus bill passed that will pay off a bunch of people she loves, whether Trump gets elected again or not. I know she will, because they do it to us every single time. And we have Republicans who are unable or unwilling to stand up and say, we can't destroy America's financial system. Go back to work. There's your stimulus. Whatever. All right. Practice, practice, practice. That's how you get good at everything, including shooting. And here's the thing, and I'm talking to you veterans out there, just because you were good does not mean you stay good. Take it from me. There was a period of time there where I just didn't want to go to the range. I was done with the whole thing. I went back and I'm looking, I'm thinking, what happened to my skills? You can practice at home now with iTarget. Did you hear me? You can practice at home now with iTarget. No more spending a fortune on ammo, on range fees. With iTarget, they'll send you a laser bullet, caliber of your choice, fits right in your weapon. They'll send you a mini target, put the app on your phone, and you practice right there at home. Go get your iTarget today. Go to itargetpro.com. That's itargetpro.com. Use the promo code Jesse. We'll be back.
Replenish your inbox with an email that holds your values. Get the Up First email from The First, the daily newsletter that brings you the important stories from a Freedom First agenda. It's essential reading for those who are tired of the liberal media's talking points and progressive agenda-driven network news. Reclaim your inbox now with the Up First newsletter. Go to thefirsttv.com and sign up today. Bill O'Reilly joins Jesse Kelly live immediately following the debate. Stay right here on The First for complete post-debate analysis.
Another day, another dumb thing that California has done, except this time it concerns prisons. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation has decided that it will now house inmates based on their gender identity rather than their sex assigned at birth. Oh, here we go. The new law Newsom signed Saturday requires officers to ask inmates privately during the intake process if they identify as transgender, non-binary, or intersex. Then inmates can request to be placed in a facility that houses either men or women. I'm sorry, what? The new California law says an inmate's request cannot be denied based solely on a prisoner's anatomy, sexual orientation, or another factor that may be present among other inmates at any given facility. So you're telling me that a person with their dingle-dangles can be transferred to a women's prison because they want to be? Now, while some of this might seem very strange to some of you, this conversation has actually been going on for a very long time. And states all around the world have already instituted laws and changes to the prison systems in order to accommodate all of this. For example, Connecticut was the first US state to house inmates based on their gender identity rather than their sex. Even last year, I made a YouTube video about a Swedish man who murdered and dismembered his girlfriend, was put in a men's prison, then decided he was transgender and transferred to a female facility. And now I'm pretty sure he's actually out. So there's that too. Because who cares about public safety, am I right? And while the patently insane LGBT plus cult has probably decided that all of this is a great idea and will ultimately help transgender inmates, what they fail to see is how it has and will result in abuse, and how it has and will result in considerably more harm. Specifically to women and us, the taxpayer, who will inevitably come to fund the transgender reassignment surgery for inmates, as we've seen in the past. One piece of information from the UK in 2018 said that 1 in 50 inmates identifies as transgender in order to secure prison perks. Other sources say males identify as women in order to gain access to female prisons. Because, and no surprises here, the majority of people identifying as transgender in prison are men identifying as women. And again, while the LGBT plus camp argues that transgender inmates are victimized at a much higher rate than the regular prison population, again, they fail to realize what housing biological men with biological women means for women's safety. When it comes to this, let me quote myself. Nobody has yet demonstrated how and if transgender women pose less of a risk to biological female inmates and staff than any other regular biological male criminal. It's probably fair to assume that the majority of people would oppose putting biological male offenders in with biological female offenders. So I guess in this context, it raises the question of why this is appropriate. Does being transgender suddenly change the danger factor to female inmates? In the end, I patently don't understand why transgender inmates deserve any kind of preferential treatment as it is. But more than that, I personally believe that this is a terrible idea and will ultimately result in terrible, terrible, terrible consequences, especially for women, the main group of people that Democrats love to say that they're trying to protect.
You're watching The First.
Joining me now, president of the Security Studies Group, former Green Beret, Jim Hansen. Jim, I have to be honest, I feel like this background on my show really brings out my eyes. Do you?
It's beautiful, dude, and it goes with your houndstooth jacket. It's a style that works for you, man. I'm digging it.
Look, it doesn't work for anybody. Look, there are some people on this earth that can pull off anything. I'm probably one of those people. That's all I can say. Jim, by the way, you have a book people really, really need to read. I was combing through it last week. Tell people about it real quick first.
The Myth of White Fragility. When Trump was banning all that racist training in government agencies and schools and stuff, my book was out to explain prior to that what they're talking about. It's all the white privilege on steroids. All white people are racist and that stuff. It's garbage. There's no science or facts behind it, so just kill it.
Jim, it's one of those things for stuff like that to take place in, the Ivy League. Look, I clearly did not get into the Ivy League, nor do I have any hope either of my sons are going to get into the Ivy League. It's another thing entirely to have that thing working its way through the United States military, which, as you and I both know, it is currently doing. How do we stop it? Why is it not stopped yet? I see these stories coming out of our new, kinder, gentler military man, and I'm horrified.
Here's the best thing, dude. It's actually a racist set of training